Hey there everybody, welcome back with the Plat. Platypus is the name, and today I just want to do a really quick intro before we got into the video. Basically, I stream on Twitch, twitch.tv/Purplatypus. I stream Monday through Thursday at 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, and I'm going to be streaming One Step from Eden all week. So if you're watching this, you want to come tell me I'm an idiot, you want to tell me I'm smart, you want to give me run ideas, just hang out and have a good time, I hope you guys stop by. Link is in the description. All right, now on to the video.
Hey there, everybody, welcome back with the Plat. Platypus is the name. Wait, is my voice changer on? It fucking is. Wait 1 second.
There we go. Hey there, everybody, welcome back with the Plat. Platypus is the name. And today I'm gonna go through my 3 favorite / best spells for each region. So we're only doing 3. Some of these regions are gonna be harder than others, and so be prepared for your favorite spell to not make it in this list. If I look over a spell and I think it's not as good as it is, let me know in the comments below. I'm letting you know right now. I'm not a professional at this game. I play for fun, and based off my experience, this is what I'm going with. All right. So let's jump right into it. We're gonna go in alphabetical order based on region or focus. Anima first. So, by the way, the top 3, I'm not probably gonna list in any particular order. It's not gonna be like 3rd, 2nd, 1st best. It's just gonna be my 3 top in general. So for Anima, where's it at here? So I'm actually gonna put one that I think might be a little weird right off the bat. Maybe started off a little funky. I'm gonna put Ring of Fire as one of the top 3. It's 3 mana, create a circle of flames 4 tile away. So this is actually a lot of tiles. It's 3, 6, 7, 8 tiles, right? Because it's a 3x3 square, but with a hole in the middle. So it's 8 fire tiles, and this is really good against a lot of bosses, because you're gonna see my bias here. I think flames are very, very powerful for the most part. There's a lot of good flame synergy, especially if you get something like Thermite later on. Like, I'm not basing this purely off how good like Thermite is, although it is good, but it's just like, I feel like it's good against a lot of bosses because there's a lot of coverage. It's very synergistic, and it's kind of passive damage. In addition to, it also just does 20 damage on hit. And it's really good in rooms, and I think it's good against bosses, which is why Ring of Fire is going to be here. Another one, you're going to notice my bias as well, that in the top 3, I think is Firestorm. 4 mana, rain down shots that leave flame. So each shot hits for 30. It hits 4 tiles in a wave, and then it does that 3 times. So it hits a total of 12. I think you can hit the same tile multiple times, so I don't think you're guaranteed to get 12 flames. But this is one that I don't think is as good for bosses, but I find it saves me a lot of HP in rooms and makes some difficult rooms way, way easier, especially if you have something like Blue Blood, where you start with full mana, so you just start and you can cast this right away. It can really help clear out the room really, really fast. And for the final one, I'm actually going to choose a legendary spell here, or, the highest rarity Anima spell, which is not something I'm going to try to pick for all the regions because it doesn't show up that much, but I don't even know how to fucking say this name. I'm not even going to try. But it's 4 mana, apply frost to all enemies once per second for 6 seconds. So obviously a lot of these higher rarity spells are gonna just be better overall. But they're not all gonna make the cut for different reasons. But the reason I think this one is so powerful is that frost got a 50% buff. It used to do 100 damage when it proc, now it does 150. So this essentially for 4 mana does 300 damage to all enemies on the map. And this, obviously, as you get artifacts, frost is a lot of artifacts, but the thing I love about this spell is that it's internally synergistic, right? You don't need to have a frost build going to be able to apply frost in other ways. This fully frosts every enemy 2 full times. So you're guaranteed to get 2 frost explosions per enemy. So it's very, very easy to synergize, even if you have, you pick up some frost artifacts and you're not building it, but you're like, oh, well, it's the only option, I'll just take it. If you find this is just like, oh, this is really good. You don't need any other cards to get benefit from your frost synergy stuff than this one, which is why I think it's easily in the top 3, at least for me. Next up is going to be Convergence. So overall, I think you guys might have an idea of at least 2 of the ones, maybe all 3 of what I'm choosing here. Number 1, most powerful, I'm actually going to go with Focus. This one actually might be in order from most powerful to least powerful. I don't know, I might do that it doesn't matter. Point is, Focus. 1 mana, gain 2 spell power. Doesn't consume, it just goes back in your deck. When you shuffle, 1 mana, 2 spell power. This is nuts. Now, there's definitely some builds you're not going to get a lot of benefit from this, because you just don't really, you don't care about spell power that much. Maybe you're playing a gunner where you're just attacking a whole bunch, and you're not really using spells. That's possible, but For the most part, like, this could get you, like, especially for some boss fights in a smaller deck, doesn't get you 10 spell power. They can get you even more than that. But 10 spell power for very, very little upfront cost it's just so good. This is a focus you basically want in almost every deck, because it's very easy to cycle through, on top of the fact that it just has huge upside. Number 2, I'm actually going to give to Boomerang. Now, Boomerang, I'm probably biased on this. I love Boomerang. It's 3 mana, throw a returning Boomerang. Restore 2 mana on hit and root target for 2 seconds. So this hits twice because it hits them on the way there and it roots them. If you hit with them on the way there, it'll root them, it'll hit it on the way back. Meaning you spend 3 mana, you're gonna get 4 mana back, and you get to root them for 2 seconds, 2 separate times, and you get 100 damage for -1 overall mana cost. Now, if you whiff with it, Boomerang fucking sucks, but most spells suck if you miss with it. Boomerang maybe even a little bit less, because there's a chance to hit them on the way back if they jump back into the row. So Boomerang, I just think, is a really, really powerful, and definitely at this rarity level, like common, is really good. Boomerang is like not always a pickup, but it's something that's usually pretty safe to pick up. If you have decent mana regen, Boomerang is exceptionally good because you don't really worry about missing with it if you can recover it pretty fast, and it still does a lot of damage and root. So it's kind of like no matter what you're going for, it's good. If you want really, really fast mana regen, Boomerang can actually grant you more mana, right? You can go from 3 to 4 after it hits twice. If you want root, this helps you. If you just want good damage, it also does good damage. It does 100 damage is pretty decent. I know Thunder does it for 1, but this has a lot more additional upside. And for the third one, I'm just gonna give it to Sarah Cannon. I just love Sarah Cannon. Shot, it's 2 mana. Shot deals damage equal to your current money. This thing is such a build around overpowered card. Now, the weird thing about it is that you kind of need to get some upgrades to go along with it. Base level, it could be strong, but it's going to be doing like 500 damage. But I'm telling you, get a double cast on this thing, and then just every time it hits, it does 1,000 damage or something like that in the late game. It's so nuts. You don't need to get upgrades for it, but it's something that I think benefits a lot from a couple upgrades. Unless you're, you have to spend money to get upgrades a lot of the time. So when you get this, try to look for upgrades you can get from the shop that are like Sell Wallet or the packs. Try to get packed upgrades as rewards instead for Sarah Cannon. But yeah, on to the next one, Double Lift. Now this is the one I think is going to be the most controversial, because I just don't like some of the spells that other people like as much as they do. Like, I don't like Echo that much. I don't like Switchbait that much, and I know a lot of people love these spells, but they're just not for me. My top 3 spells for Double Lift are gonna be Railgun as one of them. Fires piercing lasers and adds 2 jams to your deck. It does 50 damage times 3, so this is 150 piercing damage for 0 mana. Now it does add jams to your deck, but typically when you're taking Railgun, anyway, you're gonna want those jams in your deck for a different reason. Maybe you get shields when you consume a card or when you cast a jam. Maybe you got the ability to make jams only cost 1. Maybe you're going for some synergistic reason, but even if you don't, I'll admit this gets worse on longer fights like bosses and the wall, things like that. But it's exceptionally good at room clearing because most of the time you're not going to really worry about those jams anyway. Even if you cast this and you don't cast the jams, you just reshuffle, the jams will randomly get thrown into your deck at spots. It's still only 2 out of your entire deck, which is probably relatively big if you're going Railgun. Because you're right, you're going for jam synergies, which usually means bigger deck, things like that. But it just also, it's so good at clearing rooms. There's 150, this is a problem solver. I like Railgun a lot more than other people do. I feel like, anyway, from what I've heard in my comments, but I love Railgun. Number 2, we're gonna go with Virus Spell. These other 2 maybe not be that controversial. I think Railgun was definitely the more controversial one, but Virus Spell, Fire Shot, duplicate the spell, Anchor. So Virus Spell, it just duplicates and duplicates and duplicates. So you cast Virus Spell, you get 2 Virus Spells, when you shuffle your deck, then you cast both those, and you have 4, then you have 8. So Virus Spell quickly takes over your entire deck, and it's such an easy to build around card. 0 mana, 20 damage, and this gets bigger and bigger. You want like is it Bismuth? It's the artifact that gives you shields every time you cast a spell, and then just mash this for days. It's both really fun and really powerful. If you get an upgrade to give it double cast and an upgrade to get rid of anchor, one of those would be really good. Don't do anything. I guess double cast is actually probably bad. Don't get double cast. I lied about that. You don't want to increase the mana cost for any reason. You want this to be at 0. But getting rid of that anchor could be really good, and doing something to increase the damage could be pretty good. But Virus Spell is pretty good on its own overall, so Virus Spell is definitely in the top 3 for me. And then number 1, honestly, is going to be Time Slow. I think everyone knows this. Time Slow is absolutely broken. Slows time for 3 seconds. I mean, this is a panic button, right? That lets you dodge better. It lets you attack better. With Gunner, it completely breaks the run, right? Because you get this time slow reload, time slow reload, time slow reload, because you just constantly are gaining mana just by shooting, because your shots don't slow down from time slow. Like, time slow is weird. Like, it doesn't slow down certain attacks at all. And so it actually increases your DPS a lot for some abilities and characters. I even think things like Minigun or definitely Gunner, I know, is really good because I think his attacks are instant. So time slow, just if you ever see it, it's basically you just take it 100% of the time. It doesn't even need upgrades. The upgrades for it aren't relevant. You don't want to double cast it. I don't even know what other upgrades you can get. Apply fragile, you know, like maybe something like that. But no. Time slow, just take it. It's so good. Requires 0 effort. Just yes. So for Glimmer is weird because Glimmer has so many insanely powerful spells. And a lot of them are really expensive. Sunshine, not expensive, but high rarity. Sunshine is obviously insane, but it's got, I don't like giving everything that rating. Infinity Beam and an Eternity Cannon. I don't want to only give ratings to the things that are the higher rarities. Like I don't know if gold is like rare. If it goes, I think it goes common, uncommon, rare, epic, legendary, is what I would guess. That's how I would word it anyway. So I think gold is harder to find than purple, actually, and then I think above gold is rainbow, but I'm gonna give one of my biggest issues with Glimmer is I don't really like their common stuff, honestly, but we're gonna start with Glaive. Missiles bounces between enemies, so this basically goes on forever as long as it doesn't miss. Once it misses, then it hits the ground and you have to cast it again. You can cast multiple, but against things that are stationary, you just throw this, you don't aim, it just goes and hits like an enemy. I believe so, actually. It goes, hits an enemy, and then it'll bounce, and then hit, and then hit, and then hit, and it'll just keep doing that damage. It's insane against the wall boss. It's insane against even like Terra, because Terra stands still for long periods of time. There are some bosses it's definitely bad against, but it's really good against in rooms. It just, overall, it's like infinite value against some fights, and in other fights, it's really good, and in the worst fights, it's only pretty good. So if the upside is absolutely busted, if the ceiling cap is absolutely busted, run winning, and the low level of the power is like just pretty good, then I think it equals out to be a very, very powerful spell. As for number 2, it's like a kind of another weird one. I don't want to give it to Glitter Storm. You know what? Because Glitter Storm is 5 mana, but it's just way better Glitter Bomb. So this one's kind of cheating, but Glitter Bomb and Glitter Storm are the same thing, basically. Glitter Bomb, you throw 4 tiles away, and it does, it hits adjacent tiles, then those hit adjacent tiles again. This does the same thing, though, but it does it, 3 times or whatever, right? It's like a really big multi-Glitter Bomb. The issue is it's 5 mana. So I would say Glitter Bomb if you don't have 5 mana. If you do have 5 mana, Glitter Storm is just fun. I don't even know how fucking good it is. This is one of the most fun spells to cast and to look at, and it clears rooms like nobody's business. So this might be a little bit cheating, but I'm going to include the glitter spells. Whatever one fits your run better, because they're both basically the same thing. It just, it's like, do you want the level 1, or do you want, level 1 it costs 2 mana, level 3 that costs 5 mana? I don't know. Now for the final one, man, there's just so many good ones. It's just crazy how good everything is in Glimmer, honestly. I mean, there are some of the weaker ones, but so much of it is really good. Like, I'm not even gonna give it to Zigzag, and I love Zigzag. I love Diagonal Beam, although this is a professional hostage killer, I will admit. We're gonna give it to Infinity Beam. You know why? Because I like Kamehameha, and this is factually one of the top 3 best spells. You might be saying, hey, isn't this just worse Sunshine? You know what? I don't care. It's not. It's not even close. It's not even similar. Why'd you even bring that up, you straw man? I'm gonna go with Infinity Beam because I like it. And you know what? I don't need any other justification. I like things that you get to sit there and cast and deal heavy damage again and again. This lets you get perfect on the credits after you beat the game. If you just get this in your opening hand, you know, and you just cast it, you can get all the credits and get a perfect score. No other spell does that in this entire list in this game. So Infinity Beam, S tier, S plus, that's what you're getting. Oh, here we are, Hearth. So Hearth, I don't know. I'm gonna call it Hearth. I am probably one of the least qualified people to talk about Hearth because I hate it and I never take it. I think Rock Cycle is garbage, but I do know people that stand by it. Even though I think Rock Cycle is really bad, there is a combo you can get with Rock Cycle if you upgrade it to give it flow, which I believe is possible according to a comment that I had. You can just mash this spell again and again. And if you get upgraded a second time to get half your mana back, you just have an infinite machine gun for insane damage. Or nearly infinite at least. Rock Cycle can be really good, but if something's only really good contingent on getting 2 upgrades, I'm gonna give it one of the top 3 because of that, but I'm still skeptical of it. Outside of that, honestly, the 2 I'm gonna give it to are, I mean, I have to give it the Waterfall, right? Waterfall is just is a build around. It's insanely powerful. It used to not be in Hearth, but they've moved it to Hearth since. It is. This one is really good. It used to have Anchor. They got rid of Anchor. Fire shot 4 tiles away for every flow stack. The only issue, this is the issue with Waterfall and Hearth in general, is you have to go all in with an entire build. You can't just put generally good stuff, which is kind of like what I like doing. I just like doing more general good stuff, which is why I don't really like these builds as much. But if you are more of you're going for a very specific build, you can make flow work. Although every time I try to make flow work, I never get any flow in the early game, despite double focus. But Waterfall is definitely one of the payoffs, right? This can instantly kill so many things. It just gets more powerful as your fight goes on because you're generating more flow than you're dealing, at least ideally if your deck is built correctly. Outside of that, I am going to give the last one to... It's kind of a tough one here between Coldstone and Earthen Armor. I'm going to give it to Coldstone because Earthen Armor, I think it might be a bit of a liability because you're only... It gains you 2 flow for 0 and it gives you 40 shield, but I'd still rather have a Phalanx spell probably than this overall. Coldstone, I just like it a lot. 3 to deal 200 damage is pretty nuts, and it also fires a Frostbolt, and it also gives you 2 flow. This is one of the few spells in Hearth that I will take for a general good stuff deck. The other one I would take is Fissure, but I think Coldstone is better than Fissure overall. So Hearth is still probably my least favorite region, but they definitely have a lot of potential if you're deep into the flow, and they have a few spells that are not bad pickups, even if you're not really into it. All right, Hexawand. Now, honestly, this one might just be the easiest of all the regions because there's such a stark contrast between the good spells and the bad spells in this one. I mean, you can see in this page, there's so many bad ones. Beacon, I think Beacon's better than I thought it was. Beacon still kind of sucks. But Beam Crystal sucks, Blast Crystal sucks, blah, blah. We're not here to talk about ones that suck. But top 3, come on, we already all know what the top 3 probably are. Minigun. Minigun is absolutely disgusting. It's a build around, it's a run-winning common level spell. It's just really good. 12 shots at 5 damage is already good damage. If I'm doing the math, it's 60 damage, right? Yes. But then if you cast it twice, right? If Trinity, you get your 3rd Trinity cast, it will fire twice for 120 damage for still 1, which is really good. And it also gets 12 times the benefit from spell power because every shot gets the spell power bonus. And if you double cast it, the fact that it gives Trinity means if you cast it once, then the next time it'll get Trinity. And then, so every other time it'll have Trinity. And if you double cast, it's just Trinity every time, right? Because you cast it 3 times and it'll get the 3rd one will give you the Trinity. So you'll actually end up casting it when you cast, if you have double cast on this, it casts 3 times, but it actually casts 4 times because the 3rd cast is going to be a Trinity cast. So like it just scales out of control with so many things. It's one of the most powerful spells in the game, and it's a common level. This is like a run defining thing that you just pick on a character that starts with it. You're like, I'm just gonna go with a minigun run and win with minigun this time. And now in the same vein, we're gonna go with super minigun is another one. This is, I don't know if this has potential to get out of control because it's 4 mana, but this scales every spell power, gives you 100 more damage with super minigun. That is insane. If you got 5 spell power, you're getting an extra 500 damage out of this thing. And it's a one-time, it's 4, and it can be hard to get through, but it is consumed. So you get it one time, and it could just, like, most bosses, it'll either halfway kill them. Most rooms, it can completely finish. This is just absolutely, it's a minigun on steroids. If this was a little bit cheaper, or if it didn't consume, this might be one of the better spells in the game. I think it's really good. I actually think it might be slightly worse than minigun though, even though it's, in some situations it's better. Now for the third one, I know I said I was confident, but I'm actually kind of switching my mind here. I'm not gonna go with blue bullets. Blue bullets is a little, it's sometimes better than minigun, but it's a little too situational. It might just be better. It's kind of personal preference. It might just be better than minigun. It could do less damage per shot, but have more shots. It has 8 more shots and never double cast. So no, it's going to be a little bit worse than minigun. But if you have a little bit more, if you have a lot more spell power, this has more shots. So it could be considered better sometimes. But for the third one, I'm actually going to give it to, the turret SD. Summon a self-defense turret, consume. Now, this is one of the few on here that's actually going to be like, this could just straight up fucking kill you too. If you hit your own turret, this thing is going to absolutely destroy you. It does 100 damage in a lot of shots. But the reason I like this so much is because so many bosses will just hit it and get themselves fucking killed. Like, this thing could just, because they don't have AI to avoid this. So a lot of times you put this in spots you know they're going to hit, and it could just light up bosses for you. Although I would still say this is way, way, way better on Hazel than anyone else. The ability to give it shields and increase spell power actually is disgustingly powerful. Outside of Hazel, it's actually a little bit weaker. I was definitely thinking with this with the perspective of Hazel. If we take Hazel out of the equation, if you're not playing Hazel, I'm actually gonna give it the Minefield. Minefield, 2 mana, right? Put a 30 damage mine on every single one of their tiles. This is gonna do so much damage to so many things, right? Now I will say it's not good at helping hostages stay alive, but it's really good at, you don't have to aim it. It does a lot of damage. Bosses move around a fuck ton. They hit basically every tile on their side eventually, so you're just getting a lot of value out of this. I highly, highly recommend Minefield if you're not Hazel. If you are Hazel, turret SD. All right, Kinsy. So this is one that I like a lot more than a lot of people do, just in general. But I will say, I still like, when I look at the top 3, like, there's no standout, insanely powerful spells for the most part. I'm just gonna go with kind of more of my favorites here. I like Air Slash. Air Slash is just 2 mana, pushes things back a tile, and if there's nothing behind it, it'll push them back another tile and deal damage, and it'll push them back another tile. So the further forward they are, the better this is. It could do 40, 80, 160 if they're in the front row, and it hits them every single time. I just like it because it's just good. You don't have to aim. It hits everything. It does good damage that you don't have to pay attention to. So this is something that I want in most of my general good stuff runs. It's not really build around. You're not going to do anything crazy with it, and maybe that's weaker. Because a lot of spells in this game, I feel like, are weaker and worth ignoring. But that's how come I kind of like playing just general good stuff instead of hyper-specific builds. That way I get to use all these other spells that I don't normally get to use. And Air Slash, I think, is a powerful early game spell that definitely carries its weight. Now, outside of that, I think some other really powerful ones, like I like Tsunami and Undertow, but I'm actually going to give it to Caltrops. This is kind of why I like Minefield as well, except this lasts for 20 seconds. I feel like, so it has so this is 2 mana, 30 damage, I guess. You throw 4 spikes, which is, a plus. It just throws it in a cross. They last 20 seconds, which is really long in this game. If you have fragile, teleport targets to random tiles. That's pretty much irrelevant. That's I don't even know why it's on the card. It doesn't feel important. Caltrops is less good against certain rooms unless you know enemies' movement patterns, in which case you could force them to run on it a bunch, and it's really good. But it's also really good on bosses. If you have this, you throw 2, 3 of these down, they move a lot, and they're going to be taking a lot of damage. I think Caltrops is overlooked a bit too much, and every time I've used it, I've been impressed with it. It's been more powerful than I thought it should be, or it had a reason to be. So I definitely recommend trying this out if you've been ignoring it. Now, outside of those, I'm actually going to put, like, things like, see, a lot of these, like, Wobble is just so bad against some enemies, but I love it. Undertow is bad against some, like a lot of these are only good sometimes, but they're really good when they're really good. I'm actually just going to go with Bow Snipe. 4 mana, it's expensive, 250 damage. It does fire a piercing arrow. I think this could use some upgrades. Everything about the spell, nothing makes it look that good, but it really does feel good, and 250 damage piercing is very powerful. This is like a more powerful railgun, but it costs, 4 more mana, so it's, questionable. It has to be for the right deck. But I do really, really like Bow Snipe. It can be hard to land with, but once you've started to learn the game, I think it's definitely one of the more powerful spells you could take. That's a lot of damage. And especially if you can, like, get the mana cheaper, make it have double cast, things like that. Well, maybe not double cast, that'll increase the mana. That might be a little tough, but I really, really do like Bow Snipe. I've had a lot of fun with it. It just feels so good to land with, because you had the animation, you toss it, then you one-shot an enemy a lot of the times. Like, yeah, it feels good. Oh, Misery. Misery, Misery, Misery. What do I have to say about you? I don't know if people are going to agree with me on this one. People are probably going to pick things like Signet and Soul Link, which are absolutely disgustingly powerful, but they're just not my top spells. Now, Signet, just because it's not, like, there's too many bosses, I feel like you don't get enough damage in. Like, they're not hitting you, you're not hitting them. This is really, really good against, like, someone like Hazel, but, like, the wall boss, it's okay against the wall boss if you time it well, but same with, like, the Soul Link. I feel like it's I don't know. They're good. Let's just talk about the things that I am going to put up there instead. So, Anubis. Now, I have a bias towards common spells because they're what show up the most, and I don't want to put, like, oh, look, you can get this 1 out of 20 runs, this super rare spell. It's the best spell in the game. Pick this one. Like, yeah, duh. But Anubis is a common. Apply 40 poison to all enemies. This is just, cast the spell, win the game. This is kind of what it does. It just does damage. You don't have to think about it. 40 poison equates to what? It's like 40, 60, 75 damage. I think it stops at 5. I think once it hits 5, it can't half, and so then it and then I think it just disappears. I don't know. But if this has like 1 mana, 75 damage to all enemies, it's over time, I'll admit. And poison's a little anti-synergistic where it resets the timer if you apply more poison. But it's not really anti-synergistic, but it can delay the damage longer than you want it to, I'll admit. But it's just like, it hits everything. It hits all enemies. You don't need to think about it. That's a lot of what I consider good as things you don't really have to pay attention to. You just get in good heavy damage for a good mana cost. And as you synergize more with poison, it just gets better and better because, the higher you get the poison, the more damage you're getting out of the poison sack. So when you're ready to kill them, just let the poison roll off. You don't need to keep applying poison if they're already going to die from the poison. You get like, all right, we're done casting spells of the poison type. Just shuffle and get to, find your shield spells or just keep dodging, things like that, and let the poison get to them in a few seconds. In the same boat, Acid Rain. That's another one that I'll put in the top 3. 1 mana, rain arrows in a 3x3 area that apply 20 poison until you move. So this applies 20 poison and 20 damage every time it's a hit. And here's the thing. I think Acid Rain could easily suck if it fired slower. But man, this thing fires fast. Even on enemies like Gunner, that move a lot. This just hits them a ton. You can get really unlucky with RNG, I feel like, and miss a lot. But if you know what a boss's patterns like slightly, and they're gonna stand still for a second or they're gonna move kind of over here, this just gets you in so much damage so quickly for such little investment. It doesn't consume. So you can cast it, instantly cancel it. You're like, oops, that was a mistake. That's fine. You don't get a lot of value out of your one. But if you hit enemies twice, it hits really fast. Again, it hits really fast. If you hit them twice, you're getting the same mana efficiency of Anubis. If you're getting more, you're getting 40 damage on top of the 75 just from that. And it can hit many, many enemies. It's just great at destroying rooms. It's great against stationary bosses. I love Acid Rain. It's one of my favorite spells, period. But I have heard people say that it feels kind of like gambling because you got to be able to, you have to tank damage sometimes. Like, I still don't think you have to. You can just cancel it early and still get typically really, really a large amount of value out of it. Now, outside of those two, this is so lame. I'm sorry. This is lame. I probably should give it to Soul Link because Soul Link is so broken. But I still think I enjoy Pandemic more. It's just more powerful Anubis. You know, poison targets explode, applying 60 poison to themselves and nearby targets. It's twice as much as Anubis, but it does the same thing. If you have Anubis and Pandemic, that's 100 poison. And if there's enemies standing side by side, they'll also apply that 60 poison to the enemies besides them. This is more of like, for me, like Misery has a lot of good stuff, but it's just like, you don't really need to pay attention. Acid Rain you need to pay a little bit of attention to, but you don't need to aim it. You just need to know enemies' patterns so you know when it's safe to cast it. Not if you're gonna hit with it, because you just get it in the right general zone, you will hit with it. Anubis, you don't need to aim at all. You just focus on dodging, keeping yourself alive while getting in relatively good damage. And then Pandemic's the same thing. If you just keep casting this and Anubis and Pandemic again and again and again, you're getting so much poison damage in, and you just focus on dodging. And Misery also, if you're doing it, you know, you can find things like Devour and Leech that could heal you. Honestly, like Leech is pretty good. Also, Devour I think is less good, even though I would remove this from my fight before my deck from the end of the game, but it can help your sustain, especially in higher difficulties, where you're not getting healing from saving bosses, right? But anyway, Pandemic, Anubis, Acid Rain. You could definitely see my bias towards poison in the Misery tree as opposed to the Soul Link thing. But I can only pick 3, and this is my goddamn list. Moving on. Phalanx is probably going to be one of the more boring ones. I love Phalanx. I think it's really good. But it's kind of like, hey, Phalanx does one thing, basically. How would you like it to do it? You know, it's like, yeah, it's like, do you want Coke, Diet Coke, Pepsi, Diet Pepsi? It's like, it's all just soda. It's all the same kind of soda, you know? It's just slightly different flavors. So for number 1, or, you know, in the top, my controller's messing up. Freak out. Shields up. 1 mana, gain 40 shields. Talk about a boring spell, but damn, does this just help you win runs. 40 shields is so much more, like, I thought this was bad when I started because I was like, I have 1,000 HP. 40 is garbage. Like, dude, you have no idea. 40 is so much, because this isn't actually 40. The longer the fights go, this is 40, 80, you know, 160. If you get double cast on this, or even better, you get bonus shields, so it's 60 shield. The numbers seems low, but it turns out to actually be insane amount of shields that'll just keep you alive for so much longer, especially in those really long boss fights where you're going to be taking a lot of damage, because if your max HP is not super high and you're not good at dodging some of these bosses, the wall has 20,000 HP or some shit, you're going to need things like this to keep you alive long enough to dish out enough damage to win, in my opinion. Unless you have such a broken build, in which case it doesn't matter. But shields up, you basically want in every single run that you do. Like, I feel like this is like a take 80, 90% of the time spell, so it has to go up there, despite having probably the least amount of text than any fucking spell in this game. Number 2 is just Fort. It's basically a triple shields up, right? It's a triple shields up, but slightly more efficient, and it consumes. Fort, I actually think is probably not as good as shields up, just because the upgrades aren't as good on this. Like, if you get shields up with plus 20 shields, it becomes better. This with double cast can get a little too expensive, but Fort is still ridiculous. Especially more so in rooms than I think boss fights, because it just makes it so typically you're not going to take any damage that room. Gaining 150 shields at instant is absolutely nuts. I love Fort. There's not much to say else beyond that. Fort is just bigger, better shields up. Now, outside of that, this one's actually kind of tough for me. A lot of people love Shield Throw. I don't love Shield Throw just because it's gotten me killed through my own lack of skill. Now, I can acknowledge how good it is, but it's also high risk, high reward, and Phalanx, I feel like, his whole identity is to mitigate the risk in general. Shield Throw is the one thing that kind of, like, it obviously makes sense, but to me, it's like the opposite of what I want to be doing. I don't want to risk losing all my shields. My shields are there for HP, and even then, and I feel like this is a spell that gets better the better you are with the game. Like, it disproportionately gets better, because not only does it get better in terms of you knowing when you can cast it without missing, getting the damage and getting your shields back, there's also tricks you can do with, like, Fate Shield. When you're about to lose shields, you can cast this to lose the shields temporarily and then gain them all back. And then additionally, beyond that, you're just taking less damage as a skilled player in general, so your shields are going to be higher if you're trying to build around something like Shield Throw. So it's going to be more powerful with lower downside and other increased fun synergies. But I think it's a very high skill level spell, and I don't really like it. So I'm going to give number 3, it's fucking boring. I'm sorry, it's boring. Look, I love Blessing a Susano, but it's 5 mana. The amount of times I've taken this and not been able to cast it is too high for me to give it one of the top 3. But if you're able to cast it, take it. I'm gonna give it Sorry, Counter Strike. Sorry, Shield Beam. We're giving it to Entrench. It's just the exact same fucking thing. Gain 80 shields and root for 2 seconds. If you have Fragile, remove root. Now, I will say root for 2 seconds is a lot, but again, this is something that, or if you just have slight boss knowledge, you know, it's like I have an opening here for 2 seconds. This is just twice as powerful as Shields Up. And if you happen to have something that's like gain 3 spell power, I don't know, yeah, gain 3 spell power, start with Fragile every combat. Entrench could just be 80 shields with no downside. It's really, really good. I think it's just, this is something I also always want to take. It's so similar to Shields Up. It's so similar to Fort, but that's kind of what Phalanx is, right? It's 3 spells that do almost the same thing with slight different modifications on it. So which is why I thought this would be one of the boring ones, but also these are some of the ones that help you win every run, you know, especially as a newer player or as a learning player such as myself. I think as you become more advanced, you become less reliant on these, but for a long time, Entrench, Shields Up, and Fort are going to be some of your best friends. Also, Ice Shield sucks now. I'm sorry. I don't care what anyone says. The fact that I don't know if it always applied Fragile or they nerfed it, but making Frost deal 150 damage instead of 100, this does so much damage to you on the 3rd time you cast it. Yes, it's only upside the first 2 times you cast it, but the time you need the shields the most are in longer fights where things like Fort don't have you covered, and you need like the wall or just longer boss fights that are going to take you time to deal the damage. And you're going to have to cast this more than twice, or you're going to have to shuffle through it. And then this becomes a liability. I think Ice Shield is just straight up bad for most players. All right. Enough negativity. Let's get on to the next. All right. I know I said no more negativity, but Slashfic is one of my lower ranked regions, but I don't think it's because it's bad. I think I'm a little biased against it because I think they have a lot of these, like, you know, rainbow prismatic spells, and I think most of them just aren't that good. Like, a lot, I just think this has like one of the higher concentration of bad spells at high rarities, which is why I don't like it. But in the inverse, they have Collect Ring. Collect Ring is, I think, ridiculous. Some people say they don't like it that much because they go through their decks too fast, but I usually have bigger decks than most people, I think. But this is 2 mana, 40 damage. That's all it does when you cast it. But while it's in your cast slot, add a kunai to your deck every 2 seconds. I mean, I admit that 5 kunai over 10 seconds doesn't sound like a lot, but it takes a tiny bit of synergy. There's a lot of kunai synergy in this game, and a lot of synergy with consuming spells and casting spells. And kunai cast spell, consume spells, and have specific kunai synergy. So there's a lot of synergies specifically that work with kunais that it just makes this really powerful. And 2 deal 40 does suck, but like also if you want to avoid shuffling for some reason, you can hold this and keep getting spells to cast. I just think it's good, especially if you get it early and then you don't get to it for like 10, 20 seconds because you have a bigger deck. Then you get there, you just have a machine gun at the end there, and it can give you tons of shield damage. Oh, depending on what your artifacts are. Collect Ring, I think, is the best Slashfic spell for sure. Outside of that, I really like Double Take's good, but I guess, yeah, we'll go with Scavenge. Scavenge is broken, there's no doubt. But the thing is, it's not broken standalone, but if you're getting Scavenge and it's, this rarity, you're not just finding it randomly. The thing is, if you have something like Collect Ring near Castle on a kunai, this adds a kunai to your deck for every, essentially, kunai you've cast, but every consume spell you cast, every jam, every kunai, which are the main ones that you're going to be doing. And this, for 2 mana, it might add 20 kunai to your deck plus. It doesn't consume, so the longer the fight goes on, the better this gets. It's really powerful. I haven't been able to use it that much, so I don't have that much experience with it, but it's literally just kind of a Collect Ring on crack, but it's better a little bit later because you need something that actually generates this stuff first. But you cast Scavenge once, right? Let's say it adds 10 kunai to your deck. The second time you cast Scavenge, you cast all the kunai, it doubles the amount of kunais because it added a bunch of consumable cards that you consumed for 0 mana. And so now, it gets exponentially better. It doubles and then doubles the double and doubles the doubles. So yeah, Scavenge I think is definitely worth the top 3, even though I don't have that much experience with it. And the final one, honestly, it's kind of lame, I think. I think I'm going to be kind of lame here and give it to, I'm going to give it to Step Slash. I think there's more powerful spells here, probably, but I think Step Slash is such a good early game thing that also is just good late. You dash forward, hit enemies in front. You hit, I think it's a 3x2. I think it's 3 wide, 2 deep. bro. It might even be, I think 3x3 is too big, but 80 damage is really good in an AoE. I don't think Step Slash is absolutely broken or anything. I don't think it's as powerful as some of the other stuff, but I really don't think that highly of Slash Vic in general. Like obviously, like this is just better, right? Darken the screen, deal slash all enemies, it's same mana, but it's a higher rarity. And I don't think that it's like that much better for, I don't think it's that much better, right? I mean, it hits more enemies, but the amount of increased value you're getting over it is not that high. And I think Step Slash is, you know, it's like nearly as good. And it's way, way easier to get. So I'm kind of ranking it based on that. Yeah, there's not much to say about it. Everyone's played it, right? Saffron starts with it. So there's not much to say about it. That's going to be it. I guess I ended on a fucking low note. I'm sorry about that, but that's the way it ended up going. But that's going to be my list, top 3 for everything, single spell region. Feel free to yell at the screen and tell me how dumb I am and let me know in the comments below. I've responded to every comment on my YouTube channel so far. Up to this point, so I assume that every single comment that is left down there I will respond to in some way or another. So if you would like to discuss, debate, interact, this is a perfect time to do it. If you guys want to leave a like, leave a comment, leave what all the YouTube shit, I don't fucking know. You guys know what you're supposed to do as viewers. Every other YouTuber tells you what to do, so do those things or don't do those things. Either way, thanks for watching. The Purplatypus is Purplatypus. I will see you next time with more One Step from Eden.